Hi everyone, welcome to my channel Design with Rusbe. Continuing with CSWA practice problems, today we'll work on question 1.7. Let's take a look at this question. So in this question, unit of measurement is millimeter gram second. Like all other questions, the first thing we need to check first in SolidWorks is unit of measurement. So when we start working in SolidWorks, let's check that and make sure that we are using the correct unit of measurement. Now, looking at this geometry, first of all, the geometry is not symmetric. You can see that we have different sections, and we need to use extruded bus feature, or in some cases, extruded cut feature to make the final geometry. As you can see in this question, we have a 3D model, we have front view, top view, and a right view, and we have another view which is showing some dimensions as a reference. Looking at this question, my preference is to start with this back part and use extruded feature to make this rectangle, and then I'm gonna go and focus on the middle section, which is this section, and finally I'm gonna make the last section, which is this front section. So let's go to SolidWorks and start modeling this part. Okay, so in SolidWorks, as I mentioned, first thing first, we need to check the unit of measurement. Unit of measurement is millimeter gram second, so we have the correct unit of measurement. Now, to start making a 2D sketch, we go to the sketch tab, we click on the sketch, and then we choose front plane. And now on a front plane, I simply need a rectangle. That's all I need. So what I'm gonna do, I click on center rectangle, I put the center in the origin of the drawing and make a rectangle. Now, in terms of dimensions, the dimension I want for this part is shown in a front view. So basically, I know that this width must be 100 millimeter. Okay, and then looking at the geometry, the height of the geometry should be 60 millimeters. So I'm going to choose 60 millimeter for the height of the geometry. And looking at the right view, I know that the thickness of this part should be 15 millimeters. So now I have the rectangle that I want. I go to Feature tab, click on Extruded Bus, and for the thickness, I'm going to choose 15 millimeter. Okay, so this is good. Now we want to focus on a second part of the geometry. Let me show you again which part I'm in. Now my focus is on this section. You can see that we have this sort of shape, and I'm gonna focus on making this part. To do this, I click on a sketch, and then here I'm gonna choose a front plane. Okay, on the front plane, what I need first is another rectangle. So I'm gonna make a rectangle, but I don't need a center type rectangle. You can click on drop down menu and you can choose corner rectangle. I choose corner rectangle and select this point as a corner of my rectangle and make something like this. So that's the extra piece that you can see in the top view or the front view. So now let's dimension this part. Looking at the front view, you can clearly see the height of this part is 15 millimeter. So I click on a smart dimension, choose height of this part, and then set it as 15 millimeter. Okay, so now we have to find the width of this geometry. However, I don't see any specific number in the sketch, in the question, that tells me what sort of widths I have. So let's continue with making rest of the geometry and then see if we can find the overall widths or any sort of dimension. So to continue, we need another piece. So I'm gonna click on rectangle here, and I'm gonna make another piece of rectangle in this area. And for your information, my focus right now is on this section. This is a part that I'm focusing on. So I plotted this section. I'm ready to extrude this part. You can see it here as well. Now my focus is on this section, like the second portion of this section. So here, for the second portion, what we need, we know that the distance from the left wall to the right wall should be 50 millimeters. So I'm going to set this as 50 millimeter. Also, if you're looking at the front view, you can see that the width of this part should be 25 millimeters. So I'm going to set this as 25 millimeter. And now you can see even the right rectangle is now fully defined. So by adding other portion of the geometry and using other dimensions that we have in a sketch, now we have two fully defined rectangle, which is good. Okay, so now we have these two rectangles. It's time to use extruded boss feature to make our final geometry or final section. To do this, I'm going to click on feature, go to extruded boss, and same as always, here we need to choose basically the contour that we want to extrude. First, I want to focus on the first contour, which is this one. So I click on it, and from the top view, I know that the thickness I need should be 30 millimeters. So I'm going to choose 30 millimeter here, and I click on OK. So that's good. Now it's time to focus on the second one. So I click on extruded boss, then I click on model 3, go to extruded boss 2, and I'm going to active this sketch again, and then I'm going to select the second contour. This time we know that the thickness for this contour should be 23 millimeter from the surface of the first section. If you look at the right view, you see 23 millimeter. That 23 millimeter shows kind of the extra thickness that we have in addition to the first part. So what I'm going to do, first of all, in a from section that you see on the left side, I'm going to choose surface. So I'm going to define which surface I want this extruded boss to start from. And then I'm going to choose this surface. Now I know that the distance I'm looking for is 23 millimeters. So basically this surface has to have 23 millimeter distance from the surface of this extruded boss feature. So what I'm going to do, instead of blind, I click on this drop down menu and I'm going to choose offset from surface. This is the easiest way to make this part. So I click on offset from surface. I'm going to choose this surface as a reference for the offset, and I'm going to click here and choose 23 millimeters that you can see. Now if we click on OK, you see that we are getting error because it's not clear for SolidWorks in which direction we want to go. Simply click on reverse offset. Now it's clear for SolidWorks. Basically we are telling SolidWorks that it's okay, we want to pass the boundary of the surface we defined. And now we will have 23 millimeter offset from this surface. Now I can click on OK. And now you can see that we have the geometry. If you'd have doubt about it, in exam I would suggest you to quickly click on evaluate, click on measure, and then click on this surface, hold control, and click on the other surface. And you can see the distance is 23 millimeters. So the offset value that we defined and extruded boss feature we actually make is correct. And this can give you some sort of assurance that what you did is correct. Okay, good. Now we have this. Let's focus on the last piece of this geometry. The last part is pretty much simple. It's this section, which is again a rectangle. So all we need to do, we need to make a rectangle again with the same width and a height as the first rectangle, and the thickness would be 15 millimeters. So let's do that. To do this, I'm going to click on a sketch, click on a sketch, and here, to make my life easier, instead of choosing a normal plane, I'm going to simply click on this surface because that's the surface I want to plot on it. So I choose rectangle, and now I can click in the corner and then draw this rectangle. I know that the overall width should be again 100 millimeter, overall height should be 60 millimeter. Okay, Now we need to cut this section. This is not a good rectangle for the final geometry, right? But let's first extrude this section. I click on feature, go to extruded bus, and then here I'm going to choose the blind, and I'm going to choose 15 millimeter. So 15 millimeter is the overall thickness, but we know that the final geometry shouldn't look like this. This section, we need a cut section here. We need to cut this rectangle. So let's do that. To do this, I click on a sketch, activate the sketch, and again I'm going to choose this surface. And now all I need is another rectangle for cut extrusion feature. So I'm making a kind of rectangle here. Now, what's the dimension for this rectangle? If you look at the front view, you can see that distance between this line and the top line should be 15 millimeter. And distance between this line and this line should be 25 millimeter. And now we have our rectangle defined. So to do the cut extrusion, click on feature and then click on extruded cut. And here SolidWorks asks you to define the thickness. We know that we want to have 15 millimeter thickness. So 15 is set here, and we click on OK. And now we have the cut section that we want. Okay, awesome. So far we have majority of the final geometry completed. Now all we need is two cut circles in the geometry. If you review the question, you'll see that we need two circles. One is this one in a front view, and the other one is this one in a top view. We just need to make these two holes, and then we're done. So first, let's start with the front view. In the front view, we need a hole with a diameter of 20 millimeters. So I'm going to click on the sketch, and then I choose this surface, which is the back surface. And here I need a circle. The circle should be in the origin of the geometry. So I have this circle, and then I'm going to choose 20 millimeter for the diameter of the circle. And we know that the distance should be 50 millimeter from the left wall. So if I click on this, you don't need to do this because it will over define the geometry. But if I click on the center of the circle, if I click on this wall, it should be 50. And you see it's 50 because it's in the origin of the geometry. So you don't need to kind of confirm this, because if you confirm, it says the geometry is over defined because you already set enough information for your circle, which is kind of making it fully defined. So I click on cancel and we're good. So now we have this circle. Let's go click on feature, go to extruded cut, and then click on OK. The thickness is 15. If you're not sure about the thickness, you really don't care about the thickness. You need a through hole. So you can simply click on this drop down menu and then choose through all and click OK. Okay, so now you have this hole. Next step is to focus on the other hole in the top view, which should be located here. So I'm going to click on the sketch, and then I click on this surface. And now I need a circle here. I make a circle. The diameter of the circle should be 13 millimeters. So I'm going to click on the smart dimension, click on circle, 13 millimeter here. And I know that the distance between the center of the circle and the side wall should be 12 millimeters. So I'm going to choose 12 here. And also we know that the center of this circle should be aligned with this line. So I click on the center, hold Control, click on the line, and then I choose coincident. And that's good. Now we have the fully defined circle. I click on feature, choose extruded cut, and then another through hole. So I click on OK. And that's it. So now we use every single dimensions in the geometry you saw in the question. And I think this is the final answer that we are looking for. Now to check that we have the correct answer, like always, we need to check the total volume. Let's check the total volume in the question. In the question, as you can see, the total volume is provided. The answer is 148,172 cubic millimeters. Let's check this answer in SolidWorks. To do this, we need to click on Evaluate tab, and then from this menu, I'm going to choose Mass Properties. And now looking at the final answer, you can see the answer that we have is 148,171.6. If you round up this number, you're getting exactly the same number as stated in the question. So we found the correct answer and our model is accurate. Okay, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any question or feedback, please leave a comment down below. Thanks again for watching. My name is Rusbe. Hope to see you again in the next videos.